Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. We're gonna go straight in with my e.l.f. niacinamide primer, and I like to do 2 layers of this, and I like to let it dry in between each layer to get that stickiness. Okay, now moving on to my Calamine lotion. I like to apply it using a beauty blender. I apply this to the areas I get oily in. I let one layer dry, then I go back in, and then I do another layer. But you have to make sure your primer and your Calamine lotion are dried and applied evenly, or the areas that you applied it will peel and be very clumpy. Okay, y'all have to make sure that's that. So the next step, I like to go in with powder. This is the ultimate trick that will keep your face from shining. Okay, and I like to add powder to my brows as well. Moving on to the brows, I like to use my Benefit brow pencil to just brush through these eyebrow hairs and just shape it into the way I want my eyebrows to be. Next, I'm just going to be using the pencil and just tracing my eyebrows into just tracing that shape, honestly. It's okay to be messy with this part because we are going to clean this up. I just brush my brows downwards because we're also going to just trace the top so we can get the full shape of the brow, you guys. Then I'm really just filling them in. You can go as light and as dark as you would like. That's up to you. But then here are how my brows look before carving them and cleaning them up. I like to take a flat angled brush and I use my Born This Way concealer. I do this very carefully, outlining the brows, make sure not to get any concealer on them. And I do spread out the concealer like this, so that way it's just very clean. My fluffy concealer brush, and I just pat it out in tapping motions to really blend out the concealer, making sure I don't mess up those brows once again. This is what the brows look like. They're all cleaned up. They're done. So our next step, we're going to be moving on to foundation. I like to use the Haus Labs foundation. It does come with a pump, but I like this application a lot better. And with this foundation, you don't need a lot because it has very full coverage. Taking my buffing brush, I blend out my foundation and tapping circular motions. Do not swipe because we do not want any streaky foundation, okay? And make sure you get that neck, your ears, whatever you need to get, okay? We do not want to be looking 2 different colors, so make sure you get everywhere and blend very good. Next, I'm using a cream bronzer. I prefer this one from NARS. I just use this big fluffy brush. I don't really know. I do apply this on the cheeks and drag it up to my temple, but look at how this melts and blends into the foundation with ease, you guys. This looks so nice. I do not contour, you guys, so I'm just using bronzing cream in place where bronzer and the contour will be. So I think they call that bronzer. Y'all ain't hear from me though. Y'all have to meet my cat real quick. Her name's Juno Jo Star. She's so cute. I had to let her in real quick, but we're gonna be moving on. This is it blended out. I love a bronzy look. I love it so much, if you guys can't even tell. But next, I'm just gonna be moving on to the forehead. I do put this all over the forehead. I don't leave any space or nothing, because we're gonna be putting concealer on it later. Then I drag my bronzer down my nose, just so this is the contour for my nose, y'all. Trust the process, y'all, because I know I look so muddy. But we're going to be moving on to our blush. This is Juvia's Place. I do apply this on the back of my hand because I do like to build it up. Simply because these blushes are very pigmented and I do blend using circular patting motions. Moving on, we're going to be going to our concealer. Your concealer should be 2 to 3 shades lighter than your skin tone, and I like to use the Born This Way concealer, and my placement is under both of my eyes, the bridge of my nose, and in the middle of my forehead. This is our first layer of concealer, and this is what it should look like before we blend it, bringing it all together. I'm going to be using our same concealer brush, and starting with the forehead, I move in tapping motions, and then I go straight down along the bridge of my nose, blending it. It does look like I'm swiping here, but that's okay. It's whatever. For the concealer under our eyes, we're going to be blending it in an upwards motion, really softening out that blush and bronzer that we had placed. Y'all need to remember to take your time with blending because we really want the colors to melt into each other. We do not want any streakiness, any unevenness. This is how it should look like after blending. Our next layer of concealer should be brighter than our last layer, and we are only placing this in the corner under our eyes. Now I'm grabbing my Rare Beauty blush and I'm using the same hand method. I'm layering this pink on top of the orange and I think it turns out very super cute, nice peachy color. I don't know. I really like it. I'm just doing the other side. You can get a good look of how this makeup is turning out so far. Now I'm going to be taking this dry beauty sponge and blending out this concealer along the sides of my nose and into my blush. Probably looks really bright and super crazy, but we're going to trust the process. Everything's all blended out. I'm just taking this sponge and blending out the rest of my face, like my forehead and my chin, just making sure everything goes well together because the brush might not get it all. Now I'm taking my e.l.f. setting spray, and I like to set my liquids before I go in with my powders. And this is why I'm almost out. I spray way entirely too much. But then I just use my handheld fan and I just let that dry. And while that's drying, I take my concealer brush and use that to blend out everything while that's drying. Now it's time for powders. This is honestly my favorite part of the whole routine, you guys. This is my powder brush and I am dipping it in my Huda beauty powder. We are using a very light shade, and I am going to be using swiping and tapping motions, and we're just placing this under our eyes where we put the concealer. We're not putting it on our forehead or chin, nowhere else, just under the eyes alongside the bridge of the nose to give that a shape, and then blending upwards. It's time for powder bronzer and powder blush. Going in with the bronzer first, we're going to use this top shade. I'm applying this with a big angled fluffy brush. We're just going to put this where we previously applied the liquid bronzer. I did end up putting some on my forehead and blending the rest of it out that I had on the brush. For my next step, I'm taking this eyeshadow brush and I'm dipping it into the bottom color of the bronzing palette. And I do put this all over my crease and my lid. Then I drag that bronzer over the bridge of my nose and it really just harshens out the look, you guys. I'm now dipping into my Juvia's Place blush palette. I am going to be using an orangey color that's on the bottom. I do use the same liquid blush brush. I don't know why, I just do. But here I just tap it in. I think it looks super cute. I love the shade that it's become and it's really melting into the powder that we had placed down. I'm taking my beauty blender and really just pressing everything in and making sure everything's nice and blended against the sides of my nose. So now I'm taking my Mercier powder. I do like to use a powder puff for this to really press everything in. The first powder we used was such a light shade, and now we're going in with more of a neutral shade. On top of that, it will still give us this nice bright under eye effect, but not too crazy and not too bright. I did apply some extra along the sides of my nose to let bake, and I did put some down the bridge of my nose and also press some into the forehead, just in my eyebrows, just to make sure everything is smooth and matte. We're also going to add some to the chin, and I only use the neutral powder just because I don't want that part to be as light. Now I'm baking the sides, still using my powder puff, and I just swipe that along under my bronzer, and it's just really creating this shadow effect, and it's going to be sharpening the looks. So I'm now taking my beauty blender. It's still going to be dry, and I am pressing in this powder that we did use under our eyes to bake. My under eyes are looking nice and smooth, okay? And I now move on to blending out the bake under my cheeks. I say contouring or bronzing is really important because this does add some dimension and color to your face. You can really see the lift and shape it creates for my face. Now I'm taking this small eyeshadow brush, dipping it into black eyeshadow, and I'm going to pack that onto my lid. The brush I used did make it a little bit harder, but now I'm just going to take this clean fluffy brush and I use that to blend the black into the color that's in my crease, so that way everything looks very nice and blended, put well together. Please remember to take your time during this step. Make sure everything's blended out because this is how it should look like when it's done. And for our next step is one of my favorites. We're going to be moving on to our lips. And I love, love, love doing lip combos. For this one, we're going to be going in with a nude lip combo. I'm just going to be grabbing this random brown pencil. Don't ask me what brand. I do not know. It has no words on it, okay? And this is how I really do it. Y'all don't judge the faces I make because we all make the same exact faces when we are doing our lips. So I don't want to hear nothing. And I don't particularly overline mine. I really don't know how I do it. I just go along the lines and I do blend it down into my lips with the liner. To keep the liner lasting, I do powder it. I'm just taking my powder brush and using any powder that I have left over. I do have to use the One Size setting spray. That is the holy grail to tie in everything we did from the beginning. From the Calamine lotion and the powdering, that is what is going to really pull everything together here. I'm going to be going in with this nude lipstick from Revlon. And then for my next step, I'm going to be going in with this matte liquid lipstick from Ellen Tracy. I don't even know who she is, but my mom got me her for Christmas. And it's going to be in this very light pink shade. If you can see, it is a very nice pale pretty pink. And then on top of that, I like to apply this gloss from Remedy by Ari. It's going to be in the shade Conceited. It's a topping gloss because I cannot do any matte lips, you guys. I love me a glossy lip. I really do like the way everything did turn out. This is how everything looks. I am going to go add some finishing touches. I did forget to record this part. So this is how everything looks after adding lashes. I hope you guys really enjoyed the video. Let me know if you tried this out and if this works for you. Bye!